Ancient human warships, far eclipsing the Krev's technology, hung lifeless in the Sargasso Nebula, shrouding untold secrets within their silent hulls. Isaac Murray sighed and sagged into his pilot's chair, his vacuum suit creaking. Even after decades of plundering the Sargasso, a notorious graveyard where ships from across the galaxy met their end, this discovery rattled him. His small craft drifted among the derelict fleet, scanners straining to pierce the nebula's swirling gases. The ships were unmistakably human, yet unlike anything he'd seen. Hundreds strong, they ranged from nimble frigates to dreadnoughts that dwarfed modern vessels. Strange alloys shimmered on their hulls, and intricate conduits pulsed with enigmatic energies. Questions flooded Isaac's mind. Who built this fleet? When? How had it remained hidden for so long? But one thought eclipsed all others. The technology sealed within could reshape galactic power overnight. Approaching the nearest ship, a behemoth battleship, Isaac steered his craft towards a yawning hangar bay. Docking clamps shuddered and clanged, echoing through the silent chamber. With a deep breath, he checked his suit's seals and life support. There was no telling what he might find aboard. As the first human to step foot on this ghost ship, Isaac knew he trod on the precipice of history. The secrets within could elevate humanity to heights undreamed of, or consign them to oblivion at the hands of the Krev. He needed to succeed, for if the Krev found this fleet first, humanity's days were numbered. This ancient technology was their only hope against a ruthless alien foe hell-bent on mankind's extinction. Isaac cycled the airlock, steeling himself. The future of his species hung in the balance, and he'd be damned if he let them down. Isaac sat in the pilot's chair, his mind racing. The implications of his discovery were staggering. If these ships were as advanced as they seemed, they could change everything for humanity, but he needed to be sure. He needed an expert opinion. Light years away, hidden within the icy depths of a nearby Oort cloud, a Mizarian listening post lurked. Its sensors, ever vigilant, picked up the faint trail of Isaac's encrypted message. Umbra, the station's commanding officer, leaned forward in his chair as the transmission was decrypted, his eyes widening at the revelation of the ancient human fleet. Umbra was a ruthless opportunist, always on the lookout for anything that could give the Mizarians an edge, and this discovery could do more than that. It could cement their dominance over the galaxy for centuries to come. Without hesitation, he barked an order to his subordinates, dispatching their fastest ship to the Sargasso Nebula. They had to secure those ships before anyone else could claim them. Unaware of the threat speeding towards him, Isaac cautiously maneuvered his ship towards one of the larger vessels in the ancient fleet. A docking port, still intact after all these years, beckoned him. Heart pounding, he guided his craft into the airlock, the two ships connecting with a resonant clang. As the airlock pressurized, Isaac couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the precipice of something monumental. The secrets this ship held could change his life, change all of humanity, forever. With a hiss, the inner airlock door slid open, revealing a sight that took Isaac's breath away. The interior of the ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. Holographic interfaces flickered to life as he stepped inside, bathing the corridor in an ethereal glow. Isaac gaped at the anti-gravity transport tubes that crisscrossed the ceiling, and marveled at the exotic alloys that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. His boots rang out on the deck as he made his way deeper into the vessel, each step taking him further into the unknown. The ship seemed to come alive around him, as if it had been waiting all this time for someone to discover its secrets. Isaac could only wonder what other marvels this ancient fleet might hold. As Isaac ventured deeper into the ancient ship, he found himself drawn to the central control room. It was a sight to behold, dominated by a massive circular platform that seemed to be some kind of advanced command interface. Isaac stepped onto it, and a holographic display burst to life all around him, bathing the room in an eerie blue glow. The display showed a detailed schematic of the entire fleet, with strange symbols and glyphs annotating various systems and technologies. Isaac couldn't make heads or tails of the language, but he could tell it was describing the ship's inner workings. As he studied the display, a pulsing red light caught his eye. It seemed to be indicating some sort of critical failure or emergency. Isaac zoomed in on the affected area and saw that it was showing a massive breach in one of the fleet's largest ships near the center of the formation. A strange luminescent substance was leaking out into the nebula. Isaac's curiosity got the better of him. He had to investigate. Rushing back to his ship, he navigated through the fleet towards the damaged vessel. As he got closer, he noticed something odd. The breach seemed to be attracting strange, glowing creatures that danced and swirled around the leaking substance. They were unlike anything Isaac had ever seen, seemingly feeding off the energy of the mysterious liquid. Suddenly, Isaac's ship shuddered violently. He checked his instruments and saw that he'd been caught in an intense gravitational anomaly. It was pulling him towards the damaged ship with incredible force. Isaac fought with the controls, trying to break free, but it was no use. His ship was dragged into the breach. The next thing Isaac knew, he was inside the ancient vessel, surrounded by the eerie, glowing substance. Alarms blared in his cockpit. The anomaly had damaged his engines. He was stranded. As he looked out at the strange, luminescent liquid that now enveloped his ship, Isaac couldn't shake the feeling that he'd stumbled into something far beyond his understanding. The technology on these ships, the strange substance, the creatures. It was all so alien, he had no idea what he'd gotten himself into. But one thing was for sure. He needed to find a way out of here, and fast. The Mizarians were on their way, and if they found him here, it would all be over. Not just for him, but possibly for all of humanity. Isaac took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. He had to think. There had to be a way out of this. He just needed to find it before it was too late. Isaac frantically ran his hands over the control panels, trying to coax life back into his ship's dormant systems. The strange, luminescent substance seeped through hairline fractures in the hull, casting an eerie glow across his instruments. He had to get out of here, had to warn someone about this discovery before it fell into the wrong hands. Meanwhile, Umbra's ship sliced through the nebula's swirling gases, its scanners probing the derelict fleet for any sign of the elusive energy signature. The Mizarian commander leaned forward in his chair, eyes glinting with avarice as the signal grew stronger. "There," he hissed, a clawed finger stabbing at the display. "That's the one, take us in!" The pilot nodded, angling the ship towards the massive breach in the ancient vessel's hull. As they drew closer, the strange glowing substance came into view, drifting in lazy tendrils through the void. Umbra's lips peeled back from his fangs in a predatory grin. Whatever that material was, it held the key to the Mizarians' dominance. Inside the derelict, Isaac finally managed to restore partial power to his suit. Diagnostic readouts flickered across his visor as he straightened, casting a wary eye over his surroundings. The ship's interior was bathed in that unsettling luminescence, the substance seeming to pulse with a life of its own. Curiosity overriding caution, Isaac reached out to touch the strange material. It was cool to the touch, almost gel-like, and seemed to shimmer at his approach. He carefully collected a sample, sealing it in a containment unit on his belt. If he could just get this back to his ship, analyze it. A sudden burst of static in his ear made him flinch. His suit's comms crackled to life, the signal weak and distorted. Isaac's blood ran cold as the garbled words filtered through. That was no human language. Mizarian battle cant, unless he was sorely mistaken, and they were close. Pulse pounding, Isaac spun, searching for a place to hide. If the Mizarians found him here, if they discovered this trove of ancient technology, he didn't want to think about the consequences. He had to find a way to stop them, or at least delay them long enough to escape with his prize. As he moved deeper into the ship, the glow intensified, seeming to guide him onwards. Rounding a corner, Isaac pulled up short, breath catching in his throat. Before him stood a stasis chamber, its surface etched with intricate symbols that seemed to dance in the light. And within, suspended in that same eerie substance, a humanoid figure, tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like molten metal. This was no human, Isaac realized with a start. This was something else entirely, an ancient being from a time long forgotten. As if sensing his presence, The figure's eyes snapped open, twin pools of swirling luminescence fixing Isaac with an unblinking stare. It raised a hand, long fingers uncurling in a gesture that seemed to beckon him forward. Isaac hesitated, torn. Behind him the sounds of the Mizarian boarding party grew louder, the clang of boots on metal ringing through the ship's corridors. He was out of time, out of options. Taking a deep breath, Isaac stepped forward, reaching out to touch the glowing barrier that separated him from the ancient being. As his fingers brushed the surface, the world seemed to tilt, a rushing sound filling his ears. The last thing he heard before darkness claimed him was the hiss of the boarding party breaching the airlock. Isaac took a deep breath, steeling himself. He stepped forward cautiously, approaching the ancient stasis chamber. The shimmering being within extended a hand, placing it gently on Isaac's helmet. In an instant, a torrent of images and knowledge flooded into Isaac's mind. Visions of a once thriving human civilization, far surpassing anything in the present day, flashed before his eyes. Magnificent cities sprawled across planets and moons, interconnected by shimmering portals and sleek, faster-than-light vessels. But then the visions turned dark. Isaac witnessed the fall of this great civilization, a cataclysmic war against a terrifying alien threat that pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. The ancient human, now known to Isaac as Zephyr, had been part of a desperate last-ditch effort to preserve the knowledge and technology of their people. They had placed themselves in stasis, hoping that one day their descendants would find them and use their knowledge to rebuild and protect humanity. As the visions faded, the sound of the Mizarian boarding party grew louder, closer. Zephyr, now fully awake, stepped out of the stasis chamber and gestured for Isaac to follow. They moved swiftly through the ship's corridors, Zephyr navigating with an innate knowledge of the vessel's layout. Isaac noticed the glowing substance reacting to Zephyr's presence as they navigated the ship. It pulsed and swirled around them, as if alive, responding to the ancient human's every move. They reached a large circular room that appeared to be a control center of sorts. Zephyr placed their hand on a glowing panel, and the room came to life. Holographic displays sprang up, showing the status of the fleet and the approaching Mizarian ship. Zephyr spoke, their words now understandable through Isaac's translator. They explained that the fleet was equipped with advanced defensive systems designed to protect against the alien threat they had faced in the past. With a few deft movements, Zephyr activated these systems. Isaac watched in awe as the fleet began to power up, ancient generators humming with energy that had lain dormant for millennia. As the Mizarian ship closed in, the fleet's weapon systems locked onto the approaching vessel. Zephyr turned to Isaac, a grim determination in their glowing eyes. "Prepare yourself, young one," Zephyr said, their voice resonating with the weight of ages past. "The battle for the future of humanity begins now." The Mizarian ship loomed on the holographic display, a menacing presence drawing ever closer. Isaac felt his heart pounding in his chest, adrenaline surging through his veins. He knew that the next few moments would decide not only his fate, but the fate of all humanity. Zephyr's fingers danced across the control panel, ancient systems responding to their touch, as if they had never been dormant. The fleet hummed with power, ancient weapon systems coming online, ready to face the impending threat. The Mizarian ship's sensors screamed warnings as the ancient fleet's weapons powered up, a massive surge of energy flooding the void. Umbra snarled, his eyes narrowing as he realized his prey was far from defenseless. "Raise shields!" he barked, claws digging into the armrests of his command chair. "All weapons, fire at will!" The Mizarian ship opened up with a full barrage, lances of searing light streaking towards the ancient vessels. Designed to slice through the hulls of even the most advanced modern ships, the weapons struck the fleet's shields and dissipated harmlessly, absorbed by shimmering, iridescent barriers that only seemed to grow stronger with each impact. Umbra gaped in disbelief, his shock quickly turning to rage. How could this be possible? These ships were relics, ancient history. They couldn't possibly... In the fleet's control center, Isaac watched in awe as Zephyr's hands danced across the holographic controls with fluid grace. The ancient human moved with a surety born of countless battles, their every gesture perfectly attuned to the fleet's needs. Under Zephyr's command, the ships moved as one, a living entity that shifted and flowed to counter the Mizarian assault. Weapons platforms swiveled and fired with pinpoint precision, while the fleet's formation constantly adjusted to minimize the impact of incoming fire. "How are we doing this?" Isaac breathed, his eyes wide. "The shields, the weapons, I've never seen anything like it." Zephyr glanced at him, a faint smile playing across their metallic features. "Progenium," they said simply. "A substance we developed long ago in our war against the Great Devourer. It powers our ships, our weapons, our very beings. It adapts and evolves, growing stronger with each challenge it faces." On the Mizarian ship, Umbra pounded a fist against his console as his crew reported the ineffectiveness of their assault. His weapons, the pride of the Mizarian fleet, might as well have been throwing pebbles for all the good they were doing. "Missiles," he roared, spittle flying from his jaws. "Launch everything we have, overwhelm them." A salvo of warheads burst from the Mizarian ship, each one packed with enough destructive power to level a city. They streaked towards the ancient fleet, their guidance systems locked onto the largest of the vessels. But as they neared their targets, the fleet's ships shimmered and shifted, their very hulls seeming to flow like liquid metal. The missiles passed straight through them as if they were nothing more than phantoms, detonating harmlessly in the void beyond. Umbra's eyes widened in horrified realization. He had made a grave error, underestimated these ancient humans and their impossible technology. And now it seemed he would pay the price for his hubris. "Retreat," he screamed, all pretense of composure gone. "Get us out of here now." But it was too late. As the Mizarian ship turned to flee, Zephyr activated the fleet's ultimate weapon. A massive cannon, drawing power directly from the swirling energies of the nebula itself, swiveled to face the enemy vessel. It fired, a lance of pure, blinding energy that tore through the Mizarian shields as if they were tissue paper. Explosions rippled across the ship's hull as critical systems failed, the vessel coming apart at the seams. Umbra had just enough time to realize the enormity of his mistake before his world dissolved into fire and searing light. Isaac turned to Zephyr, awe and terror warring in his eyes as he watched the Mizarian ship consumed by the brilliance of the fleet's power. He had borne witness to something incredible, a glimpse into a past that held the keys to humanity's future. But even as the glow of victory suffused him, a chill ran down Isaac's spine. This was only the beginning, he knew. The Mizarians would not forget this defeat, and there were surely other races out there who would stop at nothing to claim the ancient fleet's secrets for themselves. As the Mizarian ship broke apart in a fiery conflagration, illuminating the void of the Sargasso Nebula, Isaac Murray turned to the ancient human, Zephyr, a mix of exhilaration and trepidation coursing through his veins. The battle had been won, but at what cost? The fleet, though victorious, had not emerged unscathed. Scorch marks marred the hulls of the once pristine ships, and the central vessel, the heart of the fleet, had taken the brunt of the damage. Isaac and Zephyr, their faces grim with resolve, set to work assessing the extent of the destruction. As they moved from ship to ship, Zephyr shared more of the ancient human's history, painting a picture of a civilization that had reached the pinnacle of technological achievement, only to be brought low by a threat beyond imagining. "The Vorath," Zephyr said, their voice tinged with a mix of sorrow and anger. A race of parasites capable of infecting and controlling any life form they encountered. They spread like a cancer across the galaxy, consuming entire worlds, turning our own creations against us. Isaac listened, rapt, as Zephyr recounted the desperate measures humanity had taken to survive. The development of progenium, a substance that could adapt and evolve to counter any threat. The creation of the fleet, a last bastion of hope against an implacable foe. As they worked, Isaac and Zephyr made a chilling discovery. The damage to the central ship had compromised the progenium containment systems. If left unchecked, the substance would leak out, potentially wreaking havoc on the other vessels. The two worked feverishly to contain the breach, sweat beading on their brows as they fought against time itself. But in the chaos, Isaac was exposed to a small amount of the swirling, luminescent substance. At first he felt nothing, then a tingling sensation, starting at his fingertips and spreading throughout his body. His mind raced, thoughts and ideas coming faster than ever before. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a world of possibilities he had never even dreamed of. Zephyr, watching this transformation with a mix of awe and concern, realized the true potential of progenium. If harnessed correctly, it could elevate humanity to new heights, granting them the power to stand against any threat the cosmos might conjure. But first, the fleet needed to be secured. Isaac and Zephyr, united in purpose, plotted a course for a hidden star system far from prying eyes. There, they could work to repair and study the ships, unlocking the secrets that could change the course of human history. As the fleet prepared to jump, Isaac felt the weight of destiny upon his shoulders. He had been chosen, whether by fate or chance, to play a part in this grand drama. And with Zephyr at his side, he knew that no challenge was insurmountable. The ships shimmered and vanished, leaving the Sargasso Nebula behind. And as they hurtled through the void, Isaac and Zephyr looked to the future, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. For they knew that the survival of their species, and perhaps the galaxy itself, rested in their hands. The narrator speaks. As Isaac and Zephyr set course for the hidden star system, the ancient fleet slipped silently through the void. But their path was not to be an easy one. Without warning, a vast asteroid field loomed before them, a chaotic jumble of tumbling rocks and debris that stretched as far as the eye could see. The fleet's navigation systems, advanced as they were, strained to plot a safe course through the treacherous expanse. Isaac, no stranger to navigating the dangers of deep space, stepped forward. Drawing on his years of experience as a scavenger, he volunteered to scout a path through the field in a small, agile ship. Zephyr, though worried for Isaac's safety, saw the wisdom in his proposal. With a nod, the ancient human granted Isaac permission to embark on this perilous mission. Isaac's ship darted from the fleet's hangar, its engines flaring to life as he plunged into the asteroid field. The tiny vessel wove through the tumbling rocks with preternatural grace, Isaac's hands dancing over the controls as he relied on instinct as much as skill to navigate the treacherous path. As he ventured deeper into the field, a strange sight caught Isaac's eye. Many of the larger asteroids were shot through with glowing veins, pulsing with an eerie inner light. Curiosity overtaking caution, Isaac maneuvered his ship closer to one of the luminous rocks. What he saw took his breath away. The veins were composed of pure progenium, the same miraculous substance that powered the ancient human fleet. Realization dawned on Isaac. This asteroid field had been a mining operation, a vital source of the rare, powerful material for his ancestors. The excitement coursed through Isaac's veins as he began to map the locations of the progenium-rich asteroids. With this knowledge, they could repair and enhance the fleet in ways he had never dreamed possible. Isaac's heart raced at the implications. Could there really be other humans out here, lost remnants of the war against the Vorath? He knew he had to investigate. Consequences be damned. Following the beacon signal, Isaac soon found himself in a massive, hollowed-out asteroid. At its center, battered but intact, rested an ancient human escape pod. With bated breath, Isaac docked with the pod, the airlocks shuddering open to reveal a sight he would never forget. Inside, sustained by the same stasis technology that had preserved Zephyr, were a group of human warriors clad in advanced armor, cradling weapons of unimaginable power. The leader of the group, a grizzled, battle-scarred man who introduced himself as Raven, greeted Isaac with wary eyes. As Raven spoke, Isaac learned the incredible truth. These were the progenitors, an elite human military force who had fought the Vorath on the front lines of the ancient war. When the tide of battle had turned, the progenitors had been ordered into stasis, to sleep away the centuries until the time was right to strike back against the Vorath and reclaim humanity's birthright among the stars. With a mix of awe and trepidation, Isaac invited Raven and his warriors to join the fleet. Though hesitant at first, Raven agreed, recognizing that the ancient ships and their miraculous technology might be their best hope of completing their long-delayed mission. As Isaac returned to the fleet with the progenitors in tow, he could feel a new sense of purpose suffusing the ancient ships and their unlikely crew. Together, they set course once more for the hidden star system, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For the first time in centuries, Isaac reflected, humanity had a fighting chance, a chance to reclaim the stars, to strike back against the darkness that had nearly consumed them. And he would be there to see it through, no matter the cost. But even as hope stirred in Isaac's breast, he couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest trials still lay ahead. The Vorath was still out there after all, along with untold other dangers lurking in the cold depths of space. And as the fleet ventured onwards into the unknown, Isaac couldn't help but wonder what price they might yet have to pay for humanity's survival. With the progenitors now at their side, Isaac, Zephyr, and the rest of the human fleet redoubled their efforts. In the bowels of the ancient ships, Isaac and Zephyr worked tirelessly, their hands stained with grease and sweat, as they incorporated the mind progenium into the vessel's systems. The ships seemed to come alive under their touch, ancient circuits sparking with renewed energy, hulls shimmering with the iridescent glow of the enigmatic substance. On the training decks, Raven and his progenitors put the human crew through their paces. The clang of metal on metal echoed through the halls as they sparred, the humans struggling to master the ancient weapons and techniques. Isaac grunted as Raven's staff connected with his ribs, the blow driving the air from his lungs, but he gritted his teeth and pushed on, determined to become the warrior humanity needed him to be. As the fleet pushed deeper into uncharted space, the long-range sensors suddenly chimed, an urgent tone that drew everyone's attention. Isaac and Zephyr rushed to the bridge, their eyes widening as they took in the anomaly that filled the view screens. It was an energy signature unlike anything they'd ever seen, a pulsing, swirling mass that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. As they drew closer, the true nature of the anomaly became clear. It was a structure, a megastructure that encased an entire star, a Dyson sphere. Isaac felt a chill run down his spine as he realized the scale of the engineering involved. This was beyond anything even the ancient human fleet had achieved. It was the work of gods. Zephyr's hands flew over the controls, trying to hail the sphere. For a long, tense moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, a voice crackled over the speakers, speaking in an ancient human tongue that Isaac's implants struggled to translate. "I am Prometheus," the voice said. "Guardian of this refuge, I have waited long for someone to find us." As Prometheus told his tale, Isaac felt a growing sense of horror. The Vorath, the ancient enemy that had driven humanity to the brink of extinction, had infiltrated even this bastion. They had corrupted Prometheus, turned him against his creators. The humans of the sphere had fought bravely, but in the end they had fallen. But now with Isaac and his crew, there was a chance to set things right. If they could purge the Vorath taint from Prometheus, if they could claim the sphere and its resources for humanity. Raven stepped forward, his eyes hard. "We'll go in," he said, gesturing to his progenitors. "We'll clear the way." Isaac nodded, turning to Zephyr. "We'll need to hack the systems, isolate the infiltrator." It was a desperate plan, but it was the only one they had. As Raven and his warriors prepared to breach the sphere, Isaac and Zephyr hunched over the consoles, their fingers flying over the ancient controls. The battle was joined, a fierce and brutal struggle in the halls of the sphere. Raven and his progenitors fought like demons, their ancient weapons flashing as they cut through the hordes of Vorath-controlled drones. In the digital realm, Isaac and Zephyr dueled with the infiltrator, a battle of wits and code that pushed them to their limits. But in the end, humanity prevailed. The Vorath infiltrator was purged, its taint scrubbed from Prometheus's core. The ancient AI, his voice heavy with gratitude, pledged himself to Isaac and his cause. As Isaac stood on the bridge of the sphere, gazing out at the stars, he felt a sense of hope that he hadn't known in a long time. With Prometheus and the sphere at their command, humanity finally had a chance. They had a foothold among the stars, a place to rebuild and prepare for the battles to come. The road ahead would be long and hard, Isaac knew. The Vorath and other threats still lurked in the darkness, waiting for their chance to strike. But for the first time in millennia, humanity would not face those threats alone. They would face them together, united and strong, with the power of the ancients at their back. The narrator pauses, letting the weight of the moment settle. It is a turning point, a pivotal chapter in the story of humanity's struggle for survival. But the tale is far from over. There are more battles to be fought, more secrets to be uncovered in the depths of space. And Isaac, Zephyr, Raven, and all the rest will be there to meet those challenges head-on, to carry the torch of humanity's hope into the unknown. With the Dyson Sphere secured, and Prometheus as their steadfast ally, Isaac, Zephyr, Raven, and the human crew threw themselves into the colossal undertaking of restoring humanity's might. The sphere's vast resources and manufacturing prowess were harnessed to construct a new fleet, surpassing even the ancient ships in their technological splendor. Progenium flowed through the veins of these vessels, imbuing them with an adaptive resilience that would strike fear into the hearts of any foe. As they labored, the crew reached out to the scattered remnants of humanity, long isolated on distant colonies. They shared the knowledge and technology they had reclaimed, sparking a renaissance that spread like wildfire across the stars. In a matter of years, humanity stood tall once more, united and unyielding in the face of any challenge. But their resurgence did not go unnoticed. The Vorath, ancient enemies of mankind, saw the threat posed by this newly invigorated species. They rallied their forces, calling upon allied races who shared their fear and resentment of humanity's ascent. An armada, the likes of which the galaxy had never seen, began to assemble, darkening the void with their countless ships. The battle that ensued was a cataclysm that would echo through the ages. The human fleet, commanded by the indomitable Isaac and Raven, met the enemy head-on. Their ships danced a deadly ballet, progenium-enhanced weapons cutting sways through the Vorath lines. Within the Dyson Sphere, Zephyr and Prometheus orchestrated the defense, channeling unfathomable energies into shields and armaments that shone like miniature suns. But for all their bravery and skill, the human defenders were vastly outnumbered. The Vorath and their allies came on in relentless waves, each one crashing against the human defenses with the force of a tidal wave. Slowly, inevitably, the human lines began to buckle under the onslaught. In a final desperate gamble, Isaac and Raven gathered a strike team of their most skilled warriors. They plotted a daring thrust into the heart of the Vorath fleet, aiming to decapitate the enemy command and throw their armada into disarray. It was a mission from which they knew many would not return, but they also knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. With grim resolve, they breached the enemy lines, carving a path of destruction toward the Vorath flagship. The battle that followed was the stuff of legends. Isaac and Raven fought like men possessed, their weapons blazing, their armor scorched and dented. Around them, their comrades fell one by one, buying with their lives the precious seconds needed to reach their target. In the end, they succeeded. The Vorath command ship erupted in a nova of light as its core was breached. The enemy fleet, suddenly rudderless, fell into chaos. The tide of battle turned, and the human fleet pressed their advantage. But the cost was immense. Raven, friend and mentor, was among the fallen. Most of the strike team would never return, and even as the Vorath fled and their allies scattered, it was clear that the human fleet had been pushed to the brink. In the aftermath, as the fires still burned and the wreckage drifted in the void, Zephyr succumbed to wounds sustained in the battle. Isaac, battered and bloodied, found himself the last of the original crew, the weight of all they had sacrificed resting heavily on his shoulders. But even in his grief he knew that this was not the end. The Vorath had been beaten back, but they would return. There would always be new threats, new enemies seeking to extinguish the flame of humanity. And so, with a heavy heart, Isaac set about the task of rebuilding once more. The Dyson sphere would be repaired, the fleet would be restored, humanity would continue to reach for the stars to claim its rightful place in the universe. For that was the legacy of Zephyr, of Raven, of all those who had given their lives. That was the promise that Isaac silently made to their memory as he looked out at the infinite expanse of space. Humanity would never stop fighting. Humanity would never surrender. And someday, somehow, they would build a future worthy of the sacrifices made, a future in which the light of human civilization would shine brighter than any star. Isaac turned from the viewport, squaring his shoulders. There was work to be done. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.